Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 29 of Weekend Warriors, the review series for GranTurismo sports cars, sports coupes, luxury coupes, and also modern muscle cars, which to some degree, probably more so than they ever were back in the day, can now be considered to be, as well as just muscle cars, also large sports coupes. And of the modern muscle cars that we have on GranTurismo, this is the most powerful specimen. It's the Ford Mustang GT500. As you'd assume, it is rear-wheel drive. You're looking at a 5.8 litre supercharged V8, which when fully tuned is putting out a supercar rivaling 1,015 horsepower and 921 foot-pounds of torque. Now, you'd probably assume that this would be a reasonably weighty vehicle, not necessarily a very heavy car, but certainly it would have a bit more meat to it than some others, and that is the case. Even after the full weight loss package, you're looking at 1,388 kilos, which, to put that into perspective, is roughly the same kind of weight as a Nissan GTR when fully tuned, or a fully tuned Chrysler 300C. So it's certainly not awful, but it's no super light. Thankfully though, the fact that you have got 900 foot-pounds of torque, 1,000 horsepower, etc., means that speed shouldn't really be an issue. Now, speaking of that speed, this is one of the quickest muscle cars in the game, new or old, and that's not too surprising given the specs, but of course it does have some pretty heady competition. You've got the Red Devil and the Jay Leno Oldsmobile, to name just two of its main rivals, but the interesting thing is that this car is actually quicker than both of them. Now, many people would probably think that this is not as fast as the Red Devil, and especially not as fast as the Oldsmobile Tornado. But interestingly, that is not the case. This is a quicker car, both for acceleration and for top-end speed. And I've actually proven this myself in practice in online racing on Special Stage Route X, for instance. I've raced this GT500 against a fully tuned Oldsmobile with a pretty decent tune on it, and I beat it nonetheless for acceleration and for top-end performance. Now, obviously, there is a variable there, and that is the skill of the tuner. But discounting that variable and talking pure speed facts, this is the quicker of the two. Now, as far as value for money, especially as far as muscle cars go, this is a very good one, because both of its main rivals, the Red Devil and the Tornado, are much, much bigger investments than this car is. The Red Devil Camaro, for instance, if I remember correctly, costs 750 grand, and Jay Leno's Oldsmobile costs 1 million credits. This car, on the other hand, is only 55,000 credits, and that is really good value. Now, the PP on this vehicle is pretty high. In fact, it's higher than you might assume, at 623. That's bordering on some serious race car territory. You're getting up there with some GT class cars, some touring cars even. So, can it actually compete at that level? That's the question. Well, in actual fact, yes it can. Now, Mustang fans probably won't be surprised by that, and they will be, of course, very happy, knowing how good this car is on the game. Personally, I'm not a Mustang fan. I don't dislike the car, and I have mentioned this before on the channel. It just doesn't do it for me. In fact, to be honest, most modern muscle cars don't really do it for me. I prefer the old school machines. But the fact is, the Mustang is a hugely popular line of vehicle, and it's not hard to see why. It is a very capable machine, especially for the money. Now, we've already discussed the Boss 302 version, which happens to be an excellent track car, despite the fact that it's probably not most people's first thought as such a track car. But what about the GT500? Because of the two, this at least gives off the image that it's much more of a pure straight line machine, whereas the Boss maybe is more of a twisty road master, a track monster. Well, actually, this car is deceptively good around the track, because it's probably the last car that you'd expect to be any good around corners. It looks and has the spec sheet of a vehicle which would basically be a pure drag car. And although it is an excellent choice of drag car, it's much more than that. Because the GT500, especially if you fit the optional flat floor, can actually be a surprisingly good choice, in fact, of track car. Now, is it going to take on race cars? Potentially, yes, actually, but it depends on the track. If you take this around something like a Scari or a city track, where you just can't use the advantages that it has, then not so much, because, well, just that, you can't use those advantages, and as such, using the car at all becomes rather pointless. But if you take it on a track where you can use that straight line power as well as its surprisingly capable handling, such as the Le Mans, of course, but also tracks even like the Nürburgring, then yes, this car can actually prove to be very, very useful. So overall, I would say that the GT500 is a car which is certainly known for being fast and is hugely popular online. You see loads of people using them, but it's a kind of car which many people could use, but at the same time not realise that it has other uses apart from just its straight line power. That is the obvious thing to use it for, and it's good for that. But try it out for other things, because it's actually a surprisingly good track car, especially for 55 grand. And I would say that as far as the modern muscle cars on GT6 go, this may be the best one in the game. But that's it overall for this particular pick. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.